1 second, Minato-kun is just a student trying to clock out of his part-time job. The next, a door slams, footsteps echo, and the world's most untouchable girl is tackling him into the lockers. His peaceful life didn't just change, it hit a wall at 60 miles per hour. Minato freezes, lungs burning and mind racing, but Nanase-Rei doesn't pull away. She leans in, her breath warm against his face, and whispers the last thing he ever expected from the school's cold-hearted princess. "Kiss me?" To the rest of the world, Nanase-Rei is a fortress. She accepts a love letter with a smile that looks kind for exactly 1 second, before her hands move with clinical, brutal efficiency. Rip. The sound of the paper tearing is the sound of a heart breaking in real time. She doesn't even watch the pieces fall. To Nanase, a confession without courage is just litter, and she has no time for waste. From a distance, Minato watches the wreckage of another social life with a single thought: stay as far away from that drama as possible. She's the total package, smart, athletic, and beautiful enough to make the entire student body stare. But while Kanata is busy wondering if Minato's interested in the legend, Minato is busy trying to remember if he even owns a heart to be broken. Kanata sees an impenetrable mountain that needs climbing. But Minato? He's perfectly happy at sea level. He doesn't need a challenge. He just wants to survive his shifts and his classes without becoming a footnote in the princess's trail of destruction. They sit next to each other in class and work the same registers at the cafe, yet they coexist in total silence. It's the perfect non-relationship. She's the girl who doesn't speak, and he's the boy who doesn't ask. Manager Watanabe can't help but pry. Why would a noble-born heiress like Rei-chan work in a place like this? Minato just shrugs and keeps pouring. He isn't here to solve the mystery of the princess, he's here to earn a paycheck and stay invisible. The peaceful atmosphere shatters when a loud-mouthed jerk slams his hand on the counter, confusing a cafe shift with a pickup bar. He flexes his family's wealth like a weapon, but Nana's doesn't even blink. Her eyes are flat, her voice steady. "What's your order?" She doesn't need the manager's help to handle trash. Her aura shifts, becoming something dark and suffocating that sends the guy scurrying toward the door. To everyone watching, she's untouchable. A true princess holding court. Minato heads out for the night, admiring her composure from a distance. She was cool, even against a guy twice her size, but as he walks away, he can't shake the memory of her hand, hidden beneath the counter, trembling just a fraction of an inch. The vibration of fear wasn't a fluke. Outside in the shadows, that same jerk is lurking, waiting to corner her where there are no witnesses. Minato sees the trap closing and realizes his policy of non-involvement is about to get a very messy update. She still won't back down, spitting insults that cut like glass. But pride is a poor shield against a fist. When he lunges, grabbing her with a sneer, the untouchable heiress finally looks like a girl in serious trouble. Minato tells himself to keep walking. It's not his business. She's a Nanase. She probably has a driver or a bodyguard, right? But he looks at her eyes wide and desperate, and his legs move before his brain can talk him out of it. He's in. A blur of movement, the whistle of a kick, and the harasser's world turns upside down. Minato lands, his face a mask of cold indifference that puts the princess to shame. Laying a hand on a woman, you really are the lowest of low. The guy tries to swing back, but he's fighting a ghost. Minato weaves through the punches with bored precision, calculating the distance as if he's doing homework. He isn't even breaking a sweat while he dismantles a man twice his size. He catches the guy's arm in a grip that feels like a hydraulic press. No fancy technique, just raw, overwhelming strength. As the jerk whimpers about social status and lawsuits, Nanase just watches, her breath hitching as her savior stands silent and immovable. Turns out, she is the boss's daughter. Rei drops the name of their parent company like a guillotine, and the guy's face goes from red to white. He doesn't just leave, he vanishes into the night, leaving a heavy, awkward silence behind. He reaches out to check if she's okay, but she slaps his hand away with a sharp, stinging crack. The princess is back. She demands to know what he wants from her, as if a life saved is just another transaction. Minato just sighs, glad she's well enough to be rude. He doesn't want money or a favor, his body just moved. It's a simple answer that leaves her stunned. Then, the first crack appears, a small, genuine laugh that ripples through the nighttime air. That frozen facade might just be melting. She manages a tiny, stuttered, "thank you," before bolting. Minato stands there dazed, wondering if he missed a page of the script. One thing is certain, his quiet life is officially a memory. She runs until her lungs burn, her heart hammering a rhythm she doesn't recognize. To her driver, she's just tripped over a pebble. But in her mind, she's tripping over the image of a boy who risked everything for nothing. She has questions, and she's going to find the answers. The next day at the cafe is a haze. Minato is trying to recalibrate, but the world won't let him. Watanabe is chirping about smiles, and the atmosphere feels charged with a weird, static energy he can't quite place. Then the weirdness goes vertical. Everywhere he turns, she's there. A wink in the hallway. A sudden seat next to him at lunch. And that smile, the kind that doesn't just look nice, it looks like it's trying to claim his soul. Her aloof mask is gone. The stalker heiress has arrived. The whispers follow him like a bad smell. Everyone is noticing the princess's new target. And Minato's dream of a quiet high school career is burning in the background. He's no longer just a student. He's the main character of a story he never wanted to read. He flees to the cafe, exhausted and hoping for a sanctuary where shifts don't overlap. For a moment, it seems like he's safe. No Ray. No intense smiling. Just coffee and peace. Or so he thinks. He's in the middle of changing when the click of the lock echoes like a gunshot. Nanase is standing there, blushing and hiding behind a textbook, claiming she had business. Minato suddenly realizes that clothes are a very important thing to be wearing right now. Before he can even grab his shirt, she's on him. A slam, a hug, and the smell of her hair fills his senses. Finally, it's just the two of us. The princess is gone, replaced by a girl who won't let go until she gets exactly what she came for. She's not just hugging him, she's inhaling. She praises his scent with a dazed, flushed look that borders on a fever dream. Minato's brain is short-circuiting. This is the girl who rips up love letters. This is the girl who treats everyone like dirt? He tries to pry her off, but she clings like a burr, whispering something into his chest. She demands his attention, his eyes, and a very specific price for her release. The air in the locker room is getting thin, and Nanes is done asking politely. She leans up, her hands framing his face, closing the final inch of space between them. The icy wall hasn't just melted, it's become a flood. If you kiss me, I'll let go. Minato's quiet life is dead. Long live the chaos. The world outside thinks she's a glacier. A cold-hearted princess who leaves a trail of shredded love letters in her wake. But right now, the only thing Nane's ray is shredding is Minato's sanity as she leans in. Her breath hitching with an intensity that could melt steel. She's not asking, she's commanding, kiss me. Minato's survival instinct finally kicks in, and he manages a desperate nope. He's trying to be the voice of reason, pointing out they aren't even dating, but Ray just pouts like a toddler denied a toy. She drops the seduction for a blunt demand, then hug and hold me tight. Minato was left to simply stare at the absurdity of it. Are you a kid? She isn't budging, she latches onto him. A high-spec burr that refuses to be shaken, promising she won't let go until she gets her fill. Minato's heart is hammering against his ribs, so hard it's practically a drum solo. He can feel the heat radiating off her, and his own body is starting to stage a mutiny against his common sense. Fine. One hug, then freedom. That's the deal. But the second he pulls her in, the logic dissolves. She's small, warm, and currently making a very satisfied NHM sound into his chest. He expects to feel annoyed, but instead there's this terrifying realization. He doesn't hate this at all. The spell is shattered by a knock at the door. Watanabe checking in. Minato nearly jumps out of his skin, shouting a panicked, "I'm okay," while Ray just burrows deeper. Even when the danger passes, she's still there, rubbing her cheek against his shirt. Just a little longer. Minato is officially mourning his peaceful life. Where'd your cold-hearted side go? The lockers are too high risk, so Minato makes a choice he'll probably regret. Let's go to my place. The suggestion hits Ray like a physical shock, her heart rate spiking loud enough for him to hear. She tries to play it cool, hiding her face while her fingers twist nervously in her hair. It's nothing. Let's hurry up and go. Welcome to the Ichijo residence, which Ray is currently treating like a crime scene. She's darting around, peeking into corners and flinching at every clink of a coffee cup. She finally spots a microscopic speck of dust and goes full investigative mode. Minato can't help the dry observation. Are you my mother-in-law? The humor dies as they settle over their coffee. Minato asks the question that's been gnawing at him. Why him? Why an ordinary nobody? Rei doesn't blink, her gaze locking onto his with terrifying honesty. It's because I like you. She remembers the way he moved when he saved her, decisive, cool, and entirely real. Minato tries to deflect with logic. A lady from the Nanase family shouldn't be dating just anyone, but Rei hits him with a heavy truth. For people like them, choice is an illusion. Parents already have the blueprints for their children's lives. She looks at him, a knowing smile playing on her lips. You're no different, are you? She leans in, her voice dropping to a whisper that feels like a secret. The next head of the Ichijo family, Ichijo Minato-kun. Minato freezes. His cover is blown. Behind the scenes, the Ichijo name carries the legacy of a former noble family that's propped up the country for generations. So you knew. He kept it quiet to avoid the bothersome attention. But there's no hiding from someone in the same cage. Minato stares into his cup, his face a mask of somber acceptance. He's always seen his life as a duty to leave an heir, to carry the name, and to leave love to people who actually have a choice. Rei's path is just as rigid. One day she'll be handed over to a stranger her parents pick. But as she talks about her younger sister, a girl who apparently shares Minato's hatred for bothersome things, the gloom starts to lift. For the first time she looks genuinely happy. I'd like to meet her. Rei gets surprisingly enthusiastic about the sister meeting, leaving Minato wondering if she's trying to win him over through his family. But the teasing doesn't bother him. Talking with Nanase is calming. It's the first time he's ever had a deep conversation with someone who actually understands the weight on his shoulders. The visit has to end eventually. Rei gathers her things, thanking him for the coffee and the company. Minato, usually so eager to be alone, finds himself admitting that today was fun. The look on Rei's face, flushed, heart-eyed, and completely overwhelmed, says she definitely feels the same. She lingers at the door, her usual coldness replaced by a shy, fidgeting energy. She wants to say something more, but settles for a quiet "see you tomorrow." As the door shuts, Minato catches himself smiling. If she looked like that at school, he'd be in a lot more trouble than he already is. The next day, school is business as usual, meaningless bragging from the resident playboy while Minato tries to blend into the furniture. Then, the cold-hearted princess appears. The hallways go silent. She isn't just passing through, she's walking straight for Minato. Could I have a bit of your time? The classmates are losing their minds. How did Minato pull this off? But Rei's public mask is back, icy, sharp, and radiating a pressure that makes the air feel thin. Yesterday's clingy girl feels like a fever dream. All Minato can do is offer a weak "ah, no," as he prepares for whatever bomb she's about to drop. She says it with the coldness of a death sentence. They have decided on my fiancé. The school's collective heart stops. It's over. The untouchable idol is officially off the market, and the shockwave sends books flying and jaws hitting the floor. Minato finds himself unable to do anything but manage a hollow "I see." Should he be happy for her? Or sympathetic? The burden of their shared fate feels heavier than ever. Rei looks resigned, her eyes dull as she mentions a formal greeting coming up soon. Minato forces a smile, offering the only comfort he can. Well, I know it'll be all sorts of trouble, but hang in there. As Rei walks away, the rest of the class descends like vultures. They're treating Minato like he's just been dumped by a girl he wasn't even dating. Classmates are weeping, offering their chests for him to cry on, and wondering if the fan club can survive. Quit acting like I just got rejected? Back at his apartment, Minato can't shake the thought of Rei. She's made her peace with her fate, and he knows his turn is coming eventually. He's barely out of the shower when his phone buzzes with a call from the old man. The timing is impeccably bad. Dad, before he can even process the phone call, he's being shoved into a formal hakama. The family machinery is moving with terrifying speed. Minato stares at his reflection, feeling like he's playing a part in a play he never rehearsed for. These marriage talks aren't just moving, they're sprinting. Just how? His father's voice booms through the phone with a boisterous laugh. The fiancé has been chosen, and the meeting is set. When? You'll meet them tomorrow. Minato's brain short-circuits. He's got 2 minutes until his dad arrives, and he's still trying to figure out if the world is ending. Tomorrow? 2 minutes on the dot. A helicopter roars overhead, the downwash nearly taking Minato off his feet. Ichijo Shinya, the current head and absolute chaos personified, doesn't bother with an elevator. He just jumps. He sticks the landing with a boisterous laugh, looking exactly like the man who would treat a marriage interview like a military operation. Shinya slaps him on the back with enough force to dislocate a shoulder, bragging about how the partner is a total beauty from a top-notch family. He tells Minato to act like the future head he is. Minato clenches his fist against his chest, the expectations of the Hakama suddenly feeling like lead. Yeah, I know. He has to toughen up. If he doesn't, he'll lose face, not just for his family, but in front of Nanase. He imagines her going through the same thing right now, and that thought gives him a weird kind of strength. He marches down the hallway, every step a commitment to a life he didn't choose. The sliding door opens with a sharp clack. Minato takes a breath, ready to accept his fate. But as he looks up, his heart skips a beat. Sitting there, with a gaze that could cut through stone, is the head of the Nanase family. And next to him, a girl in a kimono, her head bowed. She looks up, and the cold-hearted princess mask is gone, replaced by a gaze so sweet it's practically saccharine. She introduces herself with perfect poise, the second daughter of the Nanase family, looking forward to their future together. Then, with a blush that says she's been planning this all along, she drops the final bomb. Darling. The air in the room is heavy with centuries of tradition, but the only thing Minato can feel is the blood draining from his face. His fathers are laughing, sealing a deal that just effectively ended his peaceful life. She sits there, the perfect picture of a noble daughter, before looking up with a gaze that is terrifyingly sweet. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Nanase Ray, please take care of me from now on. Minato's brain is short-circuiting as she draws closer, her voice a syrupy whisper that completely ignores the formal setting. Ara, were you surprised? My dear husband. It's a calculated strike, delivered while their fathers beam with pride, completely oblivious to the fact that their children are already entangled in a very different kind of contract. The performance continues with Nanase playing the role of the dutiful bride-to-be, pouring tea with a grace that hides a predatory edge. Her father lets out a booming laugh, slapping Minato on the back hard enough to rattle his teeth. Every clink of the teacup strikes him as a nail in the coffin of his freedom. She stands to show off the full kimono, her eyes searching for any sign of a crack in his resolve. When he attempts to play it cool with a simple "it's nice," she leans in, catching him in a lie about his preferences. He stammers through an excuse about school rules, but her smile says she's already won this round. She moves in for the kill, her finger raised and a mischievous glint in her eyes. Well, it's okay if I'm wrong now. From now on we're going to be together all the time. The realization hits Minato like a freight train as his father gives a thumbs up from the background. He's not just getting a fiancé, he's getting a roommate. 24 hours later, the Nanase transport truck is pulling away, leaving Minato standing amidst a sea of cardboard boxes. She didn't just move in, she conquered. He makes a move to beat a retreat to his own room for a moment of peace, but she's already claimed the bed as her command center. She pats the spot next to her, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. He sits, arms crossed, trying to maintain some semblance of a defensive perimeter. It's useless. She inches closer, noting every tremor in his hands and every flush on his neck. She flops back onto the mattress, stretching with a casualness that is absolutely lethal to his composure. The cold-hearted princess mask is completely gone, giving way to a woman who knows exactly how to make him squirm. Tonight we're going to sleep together, aren't we, my dear husband? Minato decides he's had enough. He has to push back, or he'll be a passenger in his own life forever. He grabs her wrists, pinning her down to show her that he's not just a pushover. He waits for the blush, the stutter, the surrender. But the surrender doesn't come. Instead, she looks up at him with eyes that are dazed and heavy. Her heart is racing, but not from fear. I'm totally okay if you use some force. The tactical error is catastrophic. Minato scrambles backward, his face a supernova of embarrassment as he mumbles about needing a shower. Behind him he can hear her laughing into the pillow, calling him weak. Even the bathroom isn't a sanctuary. As he struggles to cool his head, a shadow appears at the door. He's mid-change, chest bare, when she peeks through her fingers with a blush that's half shameless. Do you need me to wash your back? The domestic siege continues through dinner, and right into his homework. She's there at every turn, offering to feed him, offering shoulder rubs, offering her constant, suffocating attention. He can't even focus on a math problem without feeling her gaze boring into the side of his head. Finally, he finds an excuse: a missing carton of milk, and bolts for the nearest convenience store. Standing under the fluorescent lights, he finally catches his breath. She's like a storm that's rewritten the landscape of his entire world in a single afternoon. He creeps back into his own apartment like a thief, terrified of making the floorboards creak. Silence. Blissful, terrifying silence. He gulps down a glass of water, convinced that the storm has finally passed for the night. He opens the bedroom door and freezes. She's there, curled up in his bed, but she's not wearing her own pajamas. She's wearing one of his button-downs, the sleeves hanging past her fingertips. She rubs her eyes, looking up with a sleepy, innocent flush. This is known as his shirt to me. The logic of it is absurd, but she's standing her ground, literally sniffing the collar of his shirt while he endeavors to maintain some sense of propriety. He points toward the door, demanding she goes to her own room, but his authority is evaporating by the second. She doesn't budge. If anything, she settles deeper into the bed, her gaze turning serious. This isn't just about teasing anymore. Today is the first night we're spending together. We need to make it a special memory, don't we? He attempts to summon the weight of their family names as a shield. The engagement, the potential for scandal, the social fallout, it all swirls in his head. But looking at her, he realizes that throwing her aside isn't an option his heart is willing to take. With a heavy sigh, he surrenders. He pulls a chair up, then eventually moves to the edge of the bed. Her face lights up with a smile so genuine it's blinding. She taps the space next to her, ushering him into the covers. They lie there, inches apart, the only sound in the room being the frantic rhythm of their own hearts. She peeks over the edge of the blanket, her voice a tiny, vulnerable whisper. Is your heart also pounding? He can't lie anymore. She reaches out, a small tug on his sleeve that feels heavier than any physical weight. The confidence is gone, unveiling a raw insecurity. She's trying so hard to be the wife she thinks he wants, terrified that her real obsessive self isn't enough. He waits until her breathing evens out, until the silence of the room feels safe. Then, he lets the truth slip out into the dark. Well, Nanes, you're someone I like, and there's nothing about you that I dislike. He watches her, heart in his throat, but she doesn't move. He remembers her smug pride in the moving boxes earlier, her boundless energy. She's exhausted herself just trying to be near him. As he watches her, she murmurs something in her sleep, a faint, content mumble, "My dear husband." It's the most honest he's ever heard her. He reaches out, his fingers brushing against hers beneath the sheets. An hour passes, and neither of them has truly drifted off. In the quiet of their first night together, their hands finally find each other, locking in a silent promise that the special memory has only just begun. Good night, Nanes. The sun is barely up over the city, and the most untouchable girl in school is already staging a protest in a high-rise living room. This is the domestic life Minato signed up for, an apartment with a view and a fiancé who refuses to understand the concept of a secret. She's standing her ground, eyes wide and desperate, as she delivers the morning's first ultimatum. Why can't we go to school together? Minato is playing defense, his face heating up as he tries to maintain some semblance of a normal student life. But Nanazi isn't thinking about social hierarchies. She's thinking about the fact that they're finally a team. She leans in, a playful, dangerous light in her eyes, and drops a line that would send the entire school into a cardiac arrest. We did spend the night together. Minato's voice cracks as he begs her to stop using such easily misunderstood phrasing. The battle moves to the dining table, where the scent of coffee and French toast briefly pauses the conflict. Nanaji is all smiles now, hands pressed together in a sweet, domestic itadakimasu that completely masks the obsessive energy she was radiating moments ago. Minato suggests a compromise. If they can't walk together, maybe she can invite a friend to mask the proximity. But Nanaji's answer is a sharp, immediate refusal. She doesn't want friends, she wants him. Minato sighs, looking at her over the table, finally asking why she's so obsessed with this idea of being a couple in public. The Ice Queen cracks. A deep, undeniable blush spreads across her cheeks, and for a second she's not the idol of the school. She's just a girl who's fallen way too hard. She ducks her head, mumbling that she just thought couples didn't need a reason to be together. Even Minato can't stay firm against that. He relents with a quiet, defeated fine. They strike a deal. Go to school separately, but meet up after to buy ingredients for dinner. Nane's mood flips instantly to pure radiance. She's already imagining it, the grocery baskets, the shared decisions, the domestic bliss. She winks, her voice dripping with genuine joy, as she declares she'll be in charge of tonight's dinner. Minato watches her, wondering if this compromise was actually just another part of her plan. Minato heads out first, trying to create enough distance to keep their secrets safe. But just as the door is closing, she catches him with a wave and a smile that would break the internet. "See you later, my dear husband." The words hit him like a physical weight. He stumbles into the hallway, his heart hammering against his ribs, leaving Nanace behind with that satisfied predatory grin. In the quiet of the elevator and the walk to school, the reality of his situation sinks in. He feels like he's being played like a violin. At home, she's a clingy, affectionate force of nature, but once she steps into that school building, she'll go back to being the ice queen, cold, distant, and perfectly composed. He tells himself to get a grip, to take back the lead, but the memory of her smiling at breakfast is a lot harder to shake than he'd like to admit. School is a minefield today. The rumors of the Ice Queen's engagement have spread like a virus, and the casualty list is growing. Minato finds his classroom half empty. Apparently, the news was so devastating that the entire Nanis Ray fan club has been confined to their beds from the shock. His friend Kanata waves him over, looking entirely too excited for a guy standing next to the man who actually caused the crisis. "Yo, Minato, have you heard?" A classmate brags about how an arranged marriage doesn't mean love, how she can still be stolen away by someone better. Minato's composure slips for a fraction of a second. An accidental no escapes his lips before he can catch it. The table goes quiet. He realizes too late that he just defended the fiancé's territory. He covers his face, sweating as he tries to play off the outburst, while his friends eye him with sudden sharp suspicion. To the school, she is an angel of frozen perfection, a girl whose pretty eyes never waver even when she's being hit on by the most popular guys. They see the untouchable idol. Minato sees the same person who called him husband while wearing his shirt. The gap between those two versions of Nancy Ray is wide enough to lose his mind in. The energy in the room shifts from mourning to pure, unadulterated rage. The remaining fan club members stand up, fists clenched, their eyes burning with a righteous fury. "I won't forgive that fiancé," one screams. They're projecting their own delusions onto her, imagining her being glare-treated with disdain while they wish it was them. It's a room full of people ready to go to war for a girl they don't even know is already taken. These aren't just casual fans, they're the NLA, the Nanazi Love Association, complete with membership cards and a mission statement. They aren't going to let some mysterious fiancé take their queen without a fight. The plan is simple and terrifying. Find the guy, cross-examine him, and prove he's not worthy of making Nanaze happy. Minato watches them, his eye twitching as he realizes he's essentially a wanted man in his own classroom. The irony hits a peak when the club turns to Minato for help. Since he was rejected by her so harshly in front of everyone, they figure he's the perfect candidate to put pressure on her. Then, Ichijo-san, would you please help us find out who the fiancé is? Minato is cornered. He agrees impulsively just to get them off his back, then slams his head into his hands. He's officially his own bounty hunter now. The door rattles open, and the temperature in the room drops. Nane's Ray has arrived. The fan club immediately swarms her, their voices a cacophony of questions about the fiancé. She ignores them with practiced, icy grace, but as she takes her seat, she casts a single, lingering side glance at Minato. It's a silent, teasing look that says she knows exactly how much trouble he's in. Minato just sulks, trying to disappear into his desk. The bell rings for PE, and the tension shifts from the classroom to the tennis courts. Nana's has traded her uniform for a tracksuit, her hair pulled back into a ponytail, looking every bit the elite athlete. The teacher blows the whistle, ordering everyone to find a partner for doubles. Minato stands on the sidelines, already planning his escape. If he can just stay unnoticed, he might survive the hour. They're both stretching, but their minds are on the same problem. Minato is desperately scanning the crowd for anyone at all to team up with before Nana's makes a move. Meanwhile, Nana's is watching him out of the corner of her eye, her blush deepening as she wonders if he'll actually have the courage to pick her. The silence between them is thick with everything they can't say in public. Minato decides to play it safe, too safe. He's spent his whole life avoiding attention, and today is not the day to start. He'll be the odd man out, the one who has to join the teacher's group. He pulls his collar up, looking away from Nanase as if he hasn't been thinking about her all morning. But just as he thinks he's successfully isolated himself, a hand taps his shoulder. Two simple pats that feel like a death sentence. The entire court goes dead silent. The Ice Queen has spoken. She's standing right behind him, looking up with an expression that is far too soft for her public reputation. "Ichio-kun, will you pair up with me?" Minato's jaw drops as the fan club members in the background practically dissolve into steam. It's a declaration. In their eyes, the cool type representatives of the school are joining forces, and the jealousy is enough to fuel a small sun. There's no backing out now. They take to the court as the rest of the class watches with bated breath. Nanos takes a deep breath, her focus narrowing as she prepares her serve. She's not holding back. Minato tries to downplay it, waving his hands and insisting he's just an ordinary person at tennis, but as Nanose starts bouncing the ball, the air around her starts to crackle with competitive energy. The rally is intense, but Nanase is playing a completely different game. With every shot, she's throwing out comments that would be better suited for a private bedroom than a public PE class. "Nice shot, Nanase, you're making me fall in love with you." She's mimicking him, teasing him, her laughter echoing across the court while Minato's face turns a shade of red that tennis balls can only dream of. He's sweating, he's panting, and he's terrified of whatever she's plotting next. Then she stops playing. She puts everything into a serve that hits the court like a gunshot. The sound is deafening, a bang that leaves the onlookers stunned. She's the type who can't take it easy, even in a practice rally. Her form is flawless, a perfect blend of power and grace that reminds everyone why she's the queen of this school. Minato can only watch as the ball whizzes past, realizing she's truly an ice queen in every possible sense. The rally turns into a high-speed war. They're no longer practicing, they're competing. The sounds of bang and bong rhythmically punctuate the silence of the other courts as students stop their own games to watch. They're not warming up, they're having a singles match, someone yells. Nanase is laughing, enjoying the thrill of the chase, while Minato is pushed to his absolute limit. He lunges for a ball he has no business reaching, his inner strength finally bubbling to the surface. Just as the rally reaches a fever pitch, a new figure enters the frame. The ball is returned with a powerful pow from someone outside the match. It's Todo Miku, the undisputed ace of the tennis club, and she's looking very interested in what's happening on this ordinary court. She steps forward with a confident, knowing smile, her eyes locked on Nanase. "Nanase-san, you sure seem strong in tennis." The air turns lethal. Miku isn't just making conversation. She's issuing a challenge. She stands there, racket in hand, her smile sharp and competitive as she delivers the final blow. "Let's have a match, Miss Ice Queen." Nanase doesn't back down. She crosses her arms, a visible vein of annoyance popping on her forehead. The secret domesticity is gone, the competitive fire is back. The game has only just begun. The court is a tinderbox and Todo Miku just dropped the match. She's the school's tennis club ace, and she's leaning on her racket with a smile that says she's already won. She looks Nanase dead in the eye and delivers the hook. "Miss Ice Queen, you're pretty good at tennis, aren't you? Let's have a match." Nanase doesn't even blink, shutting it down with a simple, "I decline." But Todo isn't just an athlete. She's a predator, and she smells a different kind of prey standing right next to the queen. She pivots her finger toward Minato, her eyes narrowing as she realizes his lean frame is hiding some serious athletic mileage. "Well then, you'll do. How about a match?" Classmates are booing, Todo is pouting, and the chaos is reaching a fever pitch until Nanase finally snaps her fan shut. She can't stand seeing someone else corner Minato, even if it's just for a game. She grits her teeth, her fingers clenching her sleeves as she gives in, deciding they'll play not as individuals, but as a pair. The fence might as well be the wall of a gladiator pit. Minato is peeking through his fingers, wondering how his quiet life turned into a doubles match against the tennis club's crown jewel. Behind him, Nanase is radiating a mood so toxic it could wilt the grass. She isn't here to play, she's here to win, and God help anyone who gets in the way of her synchronization with Minato. Nanase uncoils like a loaded spring, her racket connecting with a TH whack that echoes across the entire gym. The ball is a blur of white heat, crossing the net at professional speeds before the opponents can even shift their weight. Minato watches from the back line, his jaw nearly hitting the court with a sudden epiphany that every time they played together before, she was treating him with kid gloves. She's scoring points without letting the club even touch the ball, her face a mask of absolute focus. Minato realizes her bad mood is fueled by pure jealousy because he was chatting with the club members earlier. The game becomes a back-and-forth war of attrition, with the tennis club finally finding their resolve to fight back against the Ice Queen's onslaught. It's 6-5. Match point. Todo takes to the air, her silhouette cutting against the gym lights as she delivers a smash that looks impossible to return. Minato's eyes go wide, his heart hammering against his ribs as he sees the ball screaming toward the front line. It's a drop shot, cruel, calculated, and falling perfectly just over the net. Nana's is stuck out of position, and for a split second, Minato weighs his desire for a quiet life against the look on her face. He doesn't want to stand out, but he can't stand to see her lose. He breaks into a dash, his legs moving with a speed that defies his ordinary student reputation. He reaches it. With a desperate clank against the net cord, the ball rolls over, dead and unreturnable. The silence in the gym is deafening before the umpire finally calls it. Game, set, and match to the Nana's-Ichijo pair. Minato collapses to the court, his lungs burning, his legs feeling like lead as Nana's reaches out to pull him back to his feet. Todo is a good sport, shaking hands with a grin that promises a rematch. But Minato is only looking at Nana's. He hands her a bottle of water, a simple gesture that causes her icy exterior to melt instantly. She takes it with a small, shy blush, her Ice Queen persona evaporating into the domestic warmth he's becoming all too familiar with. She's back to her teasing self, sipping from the bottle and murmuring about her duties as a wife to keep her husband's attention. Then, she holds the bottle out to him, her eyes heavy with a challenge that's far more dangerous than anything Todo could throw. Anyway, Ichijo-kun, isn't your throat dry? Here, you can drink the rest of this. Minato swallows hard, his heart doing a frantic badum, as he realizes she's offering him an indirect kiss in front of the whole school. Minato panics and blurs out a suggestion to go out to eat another day just to avoid the bottle, unwittingly walking right into a weekend date. Nana's reaction is instant, her hands clench her lapels, her face glowing with a soft, genuine heat. She's not just happy, she's looking forward to it with a sincerity that makes Minato feel like he's the one who just got served. From the outside, they look like a scene from a high-budget romance manga. Ando watches them through a haze of imaginary roses, convinced he's witnessing the birth of the school's most legendary couple. Little does he know, one of them is hyperventilating internally, while the other is mentally picking out their wedding flowers. The intensity of school gives way to the mundane weight of grocery bags. Minato expects her to want the high-end department stores, but Nanase is fascinated by the simple thrill of a discount meat sticker. It's a novel experience for the rich girl, and she carries the bags back to his place with a domestic THUD that feels more real than any tennis match victory. She pushes him toward the couch, insisting he relax while she takes over the kitchen. Clad in an apron, she looks every bit the part of the devoted fiancé. She promises to make it quick, her eyes twinkling with the secret satisfaction of taking care of the man who saved her match. Minato waits on the sofa, fidgeting with his homework until the scent of ginger pork fills the air. She presents the plate with a flourish, quick, easy shogayaki that looks restaurant quality. But as he reaches for his chopsticks, she stops him, holding up a finger with a mischievous glint. There's still a secret ingredient to be added. She tilts forward, framing her face with heart-shaped hands and delivering the ultimate critical hit. Mo kyun, with lots of love. Minato's brain short-circuits, but the first bite of the pork is so sharp and savory it grounds him instantly. The meat is soft, the ginger is perfect, and he realizes he's craving this flavor as much as he's beginning to crave her presence. He can't stop his chopsticks wolfing down the meal in record time while Nana's watches with a beaming smile. As she starts to tidy up, refusing to let him lift a finger, Minato sits there in the quiet of his apartment, the steam from the miso soup warming his face. He can't help the thought that finally surfaces. Is this what newlywed life is like? She doesn't let him stay comfortable for long, leaning over the sink and casually mentioning how her grandfather's wife used an apron to win his heart. Then she drops the bomb, wondering if she should have worn nothing underneath it. Minato's imagination explodes into a vivid, blushing cloud, his inner voice screaming in a panic that he definitely cannot handle this much wife energy in one night. He attempts to make a tactical retreat to the bath, but she's right there, her hand catching his sleeve. The badum of his heart is loud enough to fill the hallway. She looks up at him, her eyes wide and dangerously sincere. "Do you want to bathe together?" Minato manages to stutter out that it's way too early for that, his voice cracking as he scrambles for any shred of sanity left. After the bath, the apartment is heavy with an awkward domestic silence. They sit on the floor in their pajamas, the steam still rising from their skin. Minato feels the need to bridge the gap, thanking her for the delicious meal. Nanase leans in, her hair sliding over her shoulder as she asks what he's willing to do as a reward. Her request is surprisingly simple: pat my head. Minato hesitates, then his hand finds the soft crown of her hair. He gently rumbles a soft, "You did your best today," and Nene's eyes flutter shut. She leans into his touch, murmuring that she's an absolute bliss, and for a moment the Ice Queen and the loner simply disappear into the warmth of the touch. The peace is short-lived as Nanazi pulls out her phone, swiping through her calendar with predatory efficiency. She reminds him of the date he accidentally promised during PE. She's already checked the weekend, and since neither of them have work, she's locking it in. Minato's jaw drops at the chilling discovery that his defensive play at school has just resulted in his first official weekend outing. She stands up, her long hair cascading down her back as she gives him one last, heart-melting smile. "I'm really looking forward to our date. Good night." She disappears into her room, leaving Minato standing in the hallway, his face buried in his hands. The realization finally sinks in with a silent scream. "I forgot about it."